everybody. Actually, not even morning now, it's kind of afternoon. I hope you're well. My name is Bridget Davis, coming to you live from Bridget's Healthy Kitchen for another installment of our quarantine kitchen cooking, where we are trying to learn some basic skills and also learning how we can utilize everything that we have in our fridge. And today's episode of Quarantine Kitchen is a goodie. And it's a goodie because we are learning how to make stocks and bone broths, and they then became the basis or the base of so many different things that we can cook. For example, a stock, you can make soup, you can use it in gravies, you can use it in stews, you can use it in curries, you can use it in casseroles. It literally becomes the base of so many different wonderful recipes that we can create. So today's class is a real goodie. If you are joining me for the first time, please let me know where you're coming from, what part of the world you are in. We all want to know, as we are quarantined, we are isolated. It's nice to know where everyone is in the world and how you're doing as well. Please let us know. Would love to hear from you. So bone broths and stocks, as I was saying, it's kind of like that simplified start to cooking, which is super exciting, because once you know how to make a stock, once you know how to make a bone broth, this world of culinary expertise just suddenly and wonderfully opens up for you. So it's kind of cool. I'm glad that I'm teaching you. I've never done a class on stocks before, because if you've ever followed any of my recipes, you guys know that I do regularly gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, and really gut healthy. So when I make a stock, as some of you may know, my stock consists of one ingredient. Let me grab it for you. That one ingredient is, which is what I got here, this is kombu, or dried seaweed, or dried kelp. Now that kind of white stuff you're seeing on that is not mold, that is salt that is dried out. So there's nothing wrong with that. That is absolutely not mold. So what I have here is a piece of dried kelp or a piece of kombu, and this is probably the simplest stock you could ever make in your life. It doesn't require any other ingredients. You could make 5 liters, which is, I'm trying to think how many pints that is, or gallons. That's like 1.2 gallons of stock using this one simple sheet of kombu. So kombu you can purchase from your, usually from your Asian supermarket. I buy a Korean style kombu. I find it is a really good quality kombu, which is, kombu was another word for seaweed, by the way. That's all it means. It just means seaweed. So I buy usually a Korean style, but I know that you can get other kombus from around the world. I also have been known, here's a little trick, to go out, because we live on the water here in Sydney, and I've also been known to jump onto my paddleboard and go into the harbour and actually pluck my own seaweed and then dry it on the washing line. So I've been known to do that as well. But this is the most basic stock you can make. So you take one piece of kombu or seaweed that is about this big. Think of it like the size of an A4 piece of paper. Is a really good way to do it. Take one piece of kombu, then you grab your pot. This is an 8 litre or 256 ounce pot. The only reason I know that it's actually written on the side of the pot, I'm not like a genius when it comes to knowing how to break down litres into ounces, but this is an 8 litre pot, and I will put this one piece of kombu into there, and then I will top it up with 5 litres of water, which is about 180 ounces of water for our American friends. I will top it up with 5 litres of water. I will slowly is the key word here, bring that to the simmer, not to the boil, and I will let that tick away in a simmer for about 4 to 5 hours. And what happens during the 4 to 5 hours is we begin to extract all the nutrients and all the flavour from that piece of kombu, which is ideal. So you're extracting nutrients and you're extracting flavor. And the reason why I love this as a stock is it's really easy to make, it's really economical. Like you can buy a packet of kombu or dried seaweed in your Asian supermarket for a couple of dollars, and you can literally make 25, 45 liters of stock from it. It's really economical. But one of the best things about it, for anyone who's ever followed my recipes, and you know I always have kombu stock as part of my curries and my things like that, is that Kombu is very, very high in iron, and which means that kombu helps to regulate our metabolism, and it does that through the thyroid. So if you're here for weight loss purposes, or you're wanting to keep an eye on your weight, this is the best stock that you can make, because it helps to regulate your thyroid and regulate your metabolism and keep your metabolism running really, really high. So kombu is actually a really, really good thing. And it's cheap, and it's plentiful, and no one be panic buying kombu right now. Let's be honest, this stuff is still on the shelves. So if you are wondering whether you're going to still be able to buy it, yeah, you are, because no one's panic buying seaweed. And it smells so good. So that's the first stock that we're talking about, which is my kombu water. It is the one that I use most often in my recipes, because it has that ability to not just give us a lovely flavor with our stock, but also to help to, oh, thank you. Oh, we're also on YouTube as well. They just said that the gallons to liters. Thank you for sharing that with us. I appreciate that so incredibly much. I think that was like 1.5 gallons, I think it was, that I saw come up very briefly there. So thank you for sharing that. That was with 5 liters of water. So kombu, really, really good for you. Regulate this. Winning. Yeah, totally winning. So that's stock number 1. So easy to do. And when you have finished cooking your stock, remember keeping it at a very gentle simmer for 4 to 5 hours, you can then just drain, let it cool a little bit, drain it into some glass containers. Don't throw that away. You can actually make another 5 liters of stock using the same piece of seaweed. Please don't throw it away. This is how versatile and cheap this is to use. You can now use that again. So don't throw it away. You can either keep it stored in the stock that you've just made in a glass jar in the fridge. That stock will last for a couple of weeks. But if you want it to last even longer, take the seaweed out of there, pop it in the freezer. Yeah, pop it in the freezer, just in a little plastic baggie. Pop that in the freezer, and then your stock will last longer in the fridge. It will last you about a month. But this, whenever you're ready to make some new stock, you just take that out of the freezer. Same thing, into your pot. 5 liters, 1.5 gallons, I think it was. 1.15 gallons of water, and you can make more stock as well. It's pretty cool. But wait, there's more. Once you've done that a second time, you can then, if you are a gardener or you know someone who does have gardeners, this is really good to actually break into your garden as compost. The worms love it. So it's just the gift that keeps on giving, quite frankly. There you go. So 1 imperial gallon is 4.56 liters. So it's just over a gallon for 5 liters, right? That's what we're getting. Thank you to the lovely person on YouTube who shared that fact with us. Thank you for that. I love it. All right, so that's stock number 1. We're not doing that today because you guys can work that one out yourself, right? That's pretty easy. The stock that we're going to be doing today comes directly from the class that I did with you guys yesterday, which was how to debone a chicken. Because one of the things as well is we don't want to waste any parts of the food that we are having in our pantry and in our fridge right now. We want to make the most of it. So we did a deboning chicken class yesterday. I'm going to get Mahe to throw up a link on Facebook. If you are joining us on YouTube and you want to see the links to the other previous classes, you can either go back into my YouTube channel. I think we have uploaded that one from yesterday already. If not, join us on Facebook, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen on Facebook, and you can see all the videos and all the links and all the recipes that we're sharing. Today I shared a great recipe with you guys, my psyllium husk pasta. How good is that? It's like psyllium husks, avocado, and just like the craziest ingredients, and you can create the most amazing pasta from it. That's gluten-free, sugar-free, and dairy-free, and amazing. All right, but we're making stock today, so I digress. Come on down to my bench so you can see what's happening down here. The first stock that we're going to be making is a chicken stock. So we're going to make from that carcass that we had yesterday. So I'm going to bring you guys down, your first Facebook. Come on down to my bench. There we go. Hi, YouTube. Oh, people joining us from Turkey on YouTube. Hello, my darling. Welcome, 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 welcome. All right, I'm just trying to, here we go. So we are all on my chopping board. You guys are, and you guys are fantastic. So chicken stock is first. As I was saying, we had that amazing class yesterday where we deboned a chicken. And what we were left with after we deboned it is we were left with literally this. So we took off the breast, we took off the thigh and the drum, we took off the wing, we used it for other things, and we were left with this. We definitely don't want to waste this. This is amazing. This is what it's all about, yes? So we are going to be turning that into our stock, our chicken stock. As well as that, I also have here lots and lots of wingtips because I did Korean fried chicken last night. Now, Korean fried chicken is my healthy, sugar-free, gluten-free, dairy-free version. So I had all these wingtips. So I used wings, so I'm going to be adding those to the stock. And as you can also see here, I have a pile of vegetables. And one of the things when it comes to making stock is what vegetables can you use and what vegetables should you potentially avoid. So it is pretty simple to go through the vegetables with you guys. There are vegetables that are really beneficial when it comes to stock. And they are literally things like carrot. Carrot's really, really good. Onion is really, really good as well. And also celery. So those three tend to be like the traditional things, or how I learned to make stock when I was a young apprentice chef many, many, many years ago. But we can also add other things into there because we don't want to waste anything. Like, did you know that yes, a carrot is really good for stock, but there's no reason, that you should be throwing away. If you've done cooked carrot, you should be keeping the peelings as well. They also work really, really good in stock. Do not throw away any of your peelings right now. Keep them in have like a stock bucket or a stock container with a tight fitting lid, and you can put all these types of things in there without having to waste it. So I have literally, apart from a whole carrot and a couple of onions, I literally have what would have been probably scrap had I not been wanting to make stock. And they include the peelings from a carrot. I also have, that's just a little piece of coriander, a little bit of herb that I have there. Would you believe it? I also have some cucumber that's seen its better days, not looking the greatest. I have some cucumber. I have a little bit of fennel as well that I'm going to be throwing in there. So those things work really, really well. So does garlic. Garlic is a really great thing to add in. And I'm just going to be adding in some roasted garlic. I found this in the back of my fridge. I think it might be a couple weeks old. So I'm going to be throwing some roasted garlic in there as well. Now, the question is, these are vegetables that work really well in stock. Are there vegetables that you should avoid? 100%. The vegetables that you should avoid when it comes to stock, because they will make the stock taste bitter and they'll make it cloudy. You need to avoid the brassica family. So that's basically cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage and kale, swede, all those things. Avoid, avoid, avoid. It's going to make your stock bitter, which is going to be nasty. All right, so avoid all that sort of stuff. Go with these types of things. Remember that your onions, your carrots, your cucumbers are fine, your fennel is fine. Avoid the brassica family. So swede, cauliflower, broccoli, cabbage, kale, avoid. Also pumpkin as well, not so great. You can use the pumpkin skin, but you don't want to put the whole pumpkin in. So we have collected, or we have gathered our ingredients, really important. Now that we have done that, we're going to go on to stage 2. So stage 2, I'm bringing my little cooktop a little bit closer so we can all see. Everyone's seen that. Bring it, put you down there. Bringing my cooktop closer. We're going to brown these things off, because browning things off is going to add flavor. The flavor is known as giving it the Maillard reaction. Now the Maillard reaction is a chemical reaction that happens in food, and when food is brown, think about a lovely caramelized steak. You know it tastes better. We're going to do exactly that with the stock. Exactly that. So I'm just going to take up my big knife because I want to actually just put that into smaller pieces. So I'm just going to kind of chunk it out. And you definitely want to use a big knife because you're going to do that, and you're just going to snap it in half. Just making it into more manageable pieces. That's all you're trying to do. There's no rhyme or reason to how you do that. Just kind of snap things in half. You know, be a little bit sort of rustic and rough. That's all good too. I have turned up, see I've got a little bit of smoke coming off there. I've turned up the heat onto my frying pan. This is where I'm going to use to brown things off. I've turned it up to like just above medium to high. I'm now going to add a little bit of oil into there, just a little bit. You don't need much. Here's my tea towel. Again. Right, not much. And I'm using coconut oil. You could use avocado oil. You could also use like chicken fat if you happen to have it. I don't. We don't need much. I'm only going to be adding in about a quarter of a tablespoon, not much at all, is going in there. Give that a little bit of a swirl, and then we're going to start to brown off our chicken. Chicken goes in first. Going to add in those wingtips as well. So remember what's happening right now. What is happening right now is we're beginning to create a really gorgeous, gorgeous flavor on that chicken. Really, really gorgeous. As opposed to just cooking this from raw or unroasted, this is such a nice way of doing it because we're adding so much flavor with that browning technique. So I'm going to turn that up a little bit. That is going to do its thing. While that is kind of browning off, I'm then going to start to chop up my vegetables. So when it comes to the carrot, with chicken stock, by the way, the timing for cooking this is about 3 hours. So I'm not going to bother, don't bother to peel it. Don't bother to peel it. If it looks a bit nasty, like it's a little bit old, even better, because then you're not throwing it away. Don't peel it. All you want to do is just chunk it out to nice big pieces like that. Yeah. Got another carrot here. Don't peel. Wash, but don't peel. Wash, but don't peel. When it comes to our onion, this is really interesting. Keep coming back and giving it a bit of a toss, only because I want it to brown really, really evenly. When it comes to our onion, I'm not even going to bother to peel the onion because the onion skins are going to give the stock a really nice color. So don't even bother. How easy is making stock? How easy is this? You just have to like chop it. You don't even have to bother about peeling it. I'm just going to cut it into quarters, just like that. Lovely. Cut it into quarters. Go back to here. Give it a bit of a toss. Oh, don't lose it. There we go. It smells really good, by the way, if you're wondering. All right, onion again. Don't peel it. If you hate peeling onions, this is the recipe for you, my darling. This is where it all makes sense in your life, because you're not having to peel anything. And when it comes to the garlic I have here, because it was roasted, is already chopped and accessible. I'm actually just going to throw the whole thing in. I'm not even going to bother to peel the garlic. Pretty cool, eh? That's why I love stock. Stock is simple. It's really easy. Right. So after a couple of minutes of doing this, I'm hoping I'm not going to set off the smoke alarm in our house, but if we do, bear with me. It might happen. Who knows? Who knows? I'll show you what kind of the colour that I'm looking for. Here we go. All right. So you can see that. Can you guys see that? You see how we're getting a lovely caramelization happening on there? That is exactly what we're going for. That is what is required right now. Play around with your heat. If it's getting too smoky, just turn it down a little bit. You don't want, like I said, you don't want to set up the smoke alarms because, you know, you don't want to have to unnecessarily call anyone to your house because we're supposed to be on isolation. So just avoid smoking out your house if you can. But I'm pretty happy with the colour that I've got on there right now. You see that? I'm pretty happy. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take up my big stock pot. I'm not cooking kombu, I'm taking that out. And then I'm just going to put that straight into my big stock pot. All those bones, those caramelized bones have now gone back in there. This goes back on the heat. Because as well as doing the bones, we also want to start to caramelize the vegetables a little bit because they too benefit from that wonderful roasting or caramelizing process. So another half tablespoon of coconut oil, give it a bit of a swirl, and then we're just going to throw in our vegetables. A nice handful goes in there. I love the sizzle. Oh, look what else I found. This is just a piece of zucchini. You can totally add a little bit of like zucchini ends. If you're wondering what to do with the end of the zucchini, here you go. That's what you do with it. It goes in there. So like literally, like I've got coriander, like I said, I've got tops of fennel is going in there as well. Just remember, stay away from the brassica family because you don't want it to be, you don't want your stock to be bitter. But there's nothing stopping you from throwing a few herbs in there. Now this portion of the stock making doesn't take that long because we're just giving the vegetables a little bit of a colour. Nothing too major. Maybe about 4 or 5 minutes you'll be doing this. Keep an eye on it. You know, I always talk about being present when it comes to cooking. You know, not walking away and wandering off to look at Facebook, unless you're looking at this channel, of course. Stay present. Stay around here. Because you want to keep an eye on it. Adjust the temperature where required. Give it a shake. It smells so good. Like, I can't believe I'm going to have to put water on this, but I will be. So imagine this has been 4 to 5 minutes later of browning. That then goes into our pot. I'm going to brown one more time because I've just got a few more ingredients here very, very quickly so I can show you the next step. So I am literally adding in all the vegetables. They are now in the frying pan. And let's get a good little toss going here. As I was saying, everything smells good. Look at this. You'd think that I'm going to show you guys how good this browning technique is. That's what you're after. That's actually cucumber. You can go on my pot. That's a bit of cucumber. Give it a bit of a toss. And then we can start to think about moving on to the next stage. Once you've got your vegetables and your meat all in your pot, lovely and browned, which is fantastic. Lovely and brown, smelling good. Now, if you wanted to, at this point in time, you could also add bay leaf if you have some bay leaf. Bay leaf is a really good flavoring agent, and that's kind of what we're trying to do, is to flavor our stock without making it bitter and without making it cloudy. Bay leaf, you could add a couple of bay leaves into here. As I was saying, pretend I've roasted that off for 4 to 5 minutes. We can now consider moving on to the next stage, which is always very exciting. So the next stage is quite simple. We're going to take about that much vegetables and meat bones. So depending on how many vegetables you have, depending on how much meat you have, will determine the amount of water. I want to add about 2 times the amount of stuff, ingredients, with water. So I'm going to go over to the sink. And I'm going to add enough water without dropping my pot. Yeah, that looks pretty safe. I'm going to add enough. Oh, it wasn't safe. I'm going to add enough water to not just cover it, but to cover it times 2. Cover it times 2. Alright. Straight back onto the cooktop. Come up a bit higher so you can see what's happening. Come up a little bit higher. Hello, hello, there you go. Right. So you want to cover this, remember, times 2. If you've got that much vegetable, don't just cover the vegetables, times 2 with water. Now the water can be used straight from your sink, like I did. You don't have to use filtered water, because we are now going to boil or bring the stock to quite the rapid simmer. So now that that's on, I've literally done all the things that I need to do in terms of creating the stock. Now come up here so we can have a bit of a chat. All right, hello. Hi. Okay, so stock's on, yeah? Simple. You've browned or caramelized the vegetables and the meat. Can you use different meat would probably be the next question. And let me talk you through the next couple of steps. So if we were just doing chicken, which we have, what I would do now with that chicken is I would bring it to a simmer, not a boil. You never ever want to boil any stock you're making, because what happens when you boil a stock is the stock goes cloudy. You only want to very gently allow it to come to a simmer, which is what I'm going to do with this chicken stock. And I will allow that chicken stock with all that water and all that veg and all that beautiful caramelized bones, I would then allow it to simmer for 3 hours. Yeah, 3 hours on a gentle simmer. And as it's simmering, I will do the next stage. Remember, so we've done the gathering of the vegetables and the meat. We've then browned them off, which is step number 2. We have then added enough water to our big pot here, and we're bringing that to a simmer, which is step 4. And step 5 is to do what is not the most attractive thing in the world, but you're probably going to remember this because it's a really odd terminology that I learned when I was a chef, is you need to skim the scum from the stock. This is called skimming the scum. Because what's going to happen as you bring that stock to that simmer, remember, do not let it boil. If you boil it, it will go cloudy and it'll be not as good. As you bring that stock to a simmer, you will notice that you'll get kind of like a rough looking top to it. In the chef industry, we call that scum, and no one likes scum because it's kind of scummy and it doesn't look very nice. What you need to do is you need to skim the scum off the top of your stock, and you do that by using a ladle. Yeah, so you're going to grab up a ladle, can be a big ladle, medium-sized ladle, which I've got here, or a larger ladle. And what you want to do, I'm going to try to show you guys the movement I'll be using, is you put your little ladle here, and you just rest it onto the surface of the water. Don't go in deep. And then as you rest it onto the surface of the water, just push it down very, very gently, even further. And what will happen, if the water is here, what you're doing is this. You start like on the surface of the water. You just rest on the surface of the water. And then gently, gently begin to push that little ladle just like parallel with the surface, and the scum will naturally just float into there. So what you want to do is very gently, if this is the surface of the water, you're here just on the top of the surface, and as you're doing this movement, the scum or the stuff you don't want, because you don't want it to boil back into your, or simmer back into your stock, it'll make it bitter and cloudy, it'll go into your ladle, and then you just tip that out and you discard it. So skimming the scum from your stock is a really important thing, and you might do it because you're watching your stock, you know, it's boiling for like, it's like not boiling, it's simmering for like 3 hours, you know, so you're like, yeah, what's happening? And every time you go over, you grab your ladle and you skim the scum from the top of your stock. That stuff you throw away, that is the stuff you don't want to boil back into your stock, because it will make it bitter and it will make it nasty. All right, so that is the next stage. Now let's say you're like, I don't have any chicken bones, but I do have fish bones. Can I also make a stock out of fish stock? 100%, you can totally do this. Of course you can. Now with the fish stock, you do not need to brown it off. You don't have to brown anything off. You put all your vegetables and your fish bones, not the guts though. No guts, no gills. No guts, no gills, no eyeballs go into a fish stock. It's literally bones only. You can put skin in there, you can put flesh in there, but no guts, no bones, no eyeballs. They will make your stock bitter and cloudy. Keep them out, throw them out, turn them into burley and throw them in the ocean if you live near the ocean. But those you want to avoid. So with the fish stock, it's bones and flesh and skin. No problem, scales are fine as well, completely fine. Put them in with your vegetables. Do the same thing, cover them with water, but not as much water. You only like 1.5 times. If your fish and bones are here, you want to do 1.5 times the amount of water. Bring it to a simmer and simmer for only 20 minutes. That's it. Yes, you may need to skim the scum off the top of your fish at the same time. 20 minutes only, your fish stock is done. 20 minutes. Chicken, 3 hours. Now, if you are using beef bones or veal bones or lamb bones or some type of what I like to refer as red meat bones, you're still going to brown your bones, but you're going to do that in the oven in a big roasting tray. Trust me, it's way easier than trying to do it in your frying pan or your wok. So you're going to do that in the oven, set really high at like 220 degrees, which is around about 450 degrees Fahrenheit. So you're doing it really hot. You're laying out your bones, you're laying out your vegetables, give them a really good roast, turning them often as it's going. You could also add a little bit of tomato paste or my roasted tomato sauce to the bones as they're roasting, which is going to give you a really nice color on your beef stock or your bone broth. You can totally do that. And then when that is all done, they're lovely and roasted, same thing, they go into the pot. You fill them up with 2 times the water, but you simmer your beef stock for a minimum of 4 hours, yeah? We used to do it for around about 8 hours. We used to simmer our beef stock 4 to 6 hours, and there'll be a lot that will come to the surface, and you'll be like, be gone, scum! Grab your ladle, there'll be a lot of stuff that comes up. So you're going to be needing to do that quite often with your beef stock. All right, so what is the next stage? So you've done all the other stages. You have skimmed the scum. That you never thought you would be doing that in the kitchen. You have skimmed the scum. It's been 3 hours for your chicken. It has been 20 minutes for your fish, or it has been 4 to 6 hours for your beef or red stock. What is the next stage? So the next stage is take it off the heat. Allow it to cool a little bit. You could even leave it overnight if you wanted to cool it completely. And the next thing you're going to do is you're going to strain your stock. Now, straining stock requires like a colander, because you're going to need to tip all the stock from this pot here. You're going to need to tip it into the colander and let all the liquid drain out, because you know that's the stuff you want, right? That's the good stuff. You want the liquid. But the vegetables and stuff that's in there, they still contain quite a bit of goodness. So this is when you grab up your trusty ladle and you go up to your colander. Let me just show you. I'm going to grab a colander. I want to show you guys the technique. So imagine I've taken my big pot here and I have strained the pot into my colander, and underneath here is another pot to collect all that wonderful, wonderful stock that we have just created. That is liquid gold. That's the stuff we want. So you have another pot coming out here, but you've got all these vegetables and you've got all these, you know, bits of meat in here. What do you do with that? Well, it's not, I mean, you could eat it, but literally all the nutrients have been cooked out of it. It's pretty nutrient like unavailable, but you could if you really wanted to use it. But the best thing that you can do with it is when you have your, let me just show you, come here. Pretend that I've just strained and I've got all my stock is in here, and this is full of like meat and vegetables and herbs, and it's looking pretty manky. I want to extract as much of the goodness from those bones and from that vegetables as possible. So I'm going to take my trusty ladle and I'm going to go into this where all the vegetables are, and I'm literally going to push down as hard as I can to start to extract all the vegetable goodness and all the meat goodness from those bones. So you can 100% do that. And what you will probably be left with afterwards you've done that, you'll be just left with a piece of dry looking vegetable and bones. You'll be like, there's nothing I can do with that. And that's fine. That can just get, see you later. You've done your job. We don't need you anymore. So that is the basis of stock. Yeah? All I'm left with now, if I've just done that draining method, is I am left with a pot full of pure stock. What do we do next? Now, if you're wanting to create bone broth, what you need to do now, because right now you've created stock, let that cool, store that in your fridge, store it in your fridge for, you know, a week, 2 weeks, store it in your freezer for up to 6 months. You have stock on the go, ready to go. You can freeze it in like little ice cube trays if you want to have little portions of stock. You could freeze it in bigger containers so that you've got like larger portions. It's up to you how you now deal with that stock. It is ready to go for soups, gravies, soups, gravies, curries, stews, casseroles, you know, slow cooked meals. It's ready to go. It's amazing. But if you want to now treat that like bone broth, where you have a sip of that every single day, where you have a mug of hot bone broth every single day, you're wanting to take that stock and you're wanting to reduce it down. So you're going to concentrate the goodness and you're going to concentrate the flavor. And that the way that you do that is put the liquid stock back into your big pot, put it onto your cooktop, and bring that then to just below a boil. So it's kind of a busy simmer like this, and allow that then to cook until, if the quantity is this much, you want to reduce it down to about half. And once you've reduced it down to half, you've concentrated the flavor, you've concentrated the goodness, and now you can treat that like bone broth. So that's how you make stock. That's how you make bone broth. We have a question. Yes, Mahe is going to give us a question.
Amanda's asked, what are your thoughts on a multi-cooker after cooking the bones and veggies?
What are my thoughts on a multi-cooker after cooking the bones and the veggies? I don't understand the question. What's my thoughts on a multi-cooker after cooking off the bones and the veggies? I don't understand the question. Let me try and decipher that. So are you asking me what my thoughts are on using a multi-cooker to cook off the bones and the veggies? Yes, my thoughts are good. As long as you're getting that caramelization, fantastic. You're browning off the ingredients. So you're getting flavor and you're getting goodness. So my thoughts are good on that. If you're using a multi-cooker, you're using a pot, You saw me, I used a wok. You could brown off your veggies straight into the stock pot if you really wanted to, if you've got a lot of stock. That's up to you. So multi-cookers are fine. I use a multi-cooker because I've got a, like I do slow cooking and pressure cooking in my multi-cooker. So if you've got one of those, I just think, great, absolutely go for it. I hope that's answered your question. I wasn't quite sure that was the question, but I hope I answered it. Do we have any more questions, Mahi? That is it? Wow, good. So, this class, amazing, right? I now have, hello, that's what I have now, cooking away, which really excites me. I love this fact. Now, tomorrow's class, if you are tuning in, and I suggest you do, we're going to be doing flatbreads. Because one of the hardest things that I've found to purchase in the supermarket, because I don't buy white flour or pasta or sugar, which, you know, I don't buy any of that, I can't buy yeast. So I'm going to be doing a flatbread masterclass, just in case you're like me and you've struggled to find yeast or something to give you a raising part of your bread. We're going to be doing a gluten-free, sugar-free, dairy-free, flatbread or yeast-free masterclass tomorrow here in Quarantine Kitchen. Please join me. I hope you have gotten a lot out of this. Don't forget, if you're going to YouTube to watch this video, make sure to subscribe. If you have never, ever watched any of our videos before, we've got hundreds of videos on YouTube, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen. We've got hundreds of videos on Facebook. Join our Facebook group as well, Bridget's Healthy Kitchen family. If you've got any questions, I will see you tomorrow here as a part of our Quarantine Kitchen. Take care. Love you all. Be safe and be well. And remember, keep calm and keep cooking.